What am I shadow banned for, twin? I ain't even do nothing.
I live in Minneapolis and I can't post anything about what's happening here right now. I can't use code words, I can't talk, I can't. Everything gets 0 views.
My account has been shadow banned from TikTok because I talked about Donald Trump and Lake Michigan.
I live inside this every single day. So when patterns happen, I notice them. And something is off, you guys.
So before I get pissed off, I need somebody to explain this to me like I'm 5 years old. You know what?
On January 22nd of this year, TikTok's US operations were officially sold to the tech company Oracle, along with Silver Lake and MGX in a joint venture known as TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC. Its primary goal? To provide data security for American users that are in compliance with US safety standards. Or so we've been told, as the app has risen to one of the most widely used platforms in the world. Prior to landing on its current owners, the great scramble for TikTok in early 2025 was a hot topic, as the price of the app reached a staggering $14 billion at its peak. Everyone from Microsoft to OnlyFans founder Tim Stokely was invested in making a bid for the app. But we have to stop and ask ourselves why TikTok was forced to be sold in the first place, and what this means for the future of the app and its users. The ongoing war against TikTok in the United States has been an issue since 2019, with many government officials, politicians, and private think tanks condemning the app as a threat to national security. This was due to TikTok's parent company ByteDance being a Chinese-owned entity, potentially allowing US user data to be collected by their government.
Look, it can't be controlled for security reasons by China. Too big, too invasive, and it can't be.
I do want to clarify that to this day, there's never been an official breach of American user data, but at the same time, privacy concerns were a major threat. Selling the company to a US buyer was the final solution outside of banning the app outright. Currently, around 80% of TikTok's US operations are owned by the aforementioned joint venture, with the remaining 20% still owned by ByteDance. Donald Trump, while initially in favor of the ban in 2020, pivoted to saving the app during his 2024 campaign, even going as far as crediting the app for his presidential victory over former Vice President Kamala Harris.
And as of today, TikTok is back. I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election? Republicans have never won the young vote, the youth vote. They win a lot of votes, but they never won the youth vote. We won the youth vote by 36 points. So I like TikTok.
It's estimated that he gained over 15 million followers on the platform by the end of his campaign alone. TikTok's user base, primarily young adults between 18 to 35, made it a key player in reaching Gen Z audiences. And while the app did go dark on January 19th of 2025, it was quickly reinstated and users were able to carry forth, biding their time until the final transaction to US investors was made. While the main goal was presented as protecting American citizens and their interest against the Chinese government, there may have been another danger potentially waiting for the gears to turn inside America's own government. When Trump announced his second presidential campaign, there were many eager to see him return to office, but there were also those who feared what a second Trump administration would mean. It's no secret that during the Trump campaign, the far-right think tank, the Heritage Foundation, unveiled Project 2025. Basically, a detailed playbook for conservative reform to be executed during the next administration.
As you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference.
While Trump denied any connection to or any influence from this plan, as of early 2026, 50% of the proposed policies have already been executed. Getting into Project 2025 could be a video in and of itself, but the proposed regime has been labeled as fascist and authoritarian in nature, with a focus on repealing certain levels of checks and balances, leading to a centralization of executive power, a push towards conservative values that could repeal rights from marginalized groups, and changes to democracy that can make it more difficult for future administrations to deter from. It's hard to argue that these claims should be dismissed. And unfortunately, these agendas paint a really dark picture over where the US could be heading in the next couple of years. And that leads us back to TikTok. While the algorithm definitely has its favorites, shortly after TikTok was purchased, many creators claimed experiencing drops in viewer count, engagement, and reach. Others reported that the For You page in general was just off. And since TikTok's algorithm is known for tailoring to each individual user, any change in the feed would definitely be noticeable.
TikTok views are at an all-time low right now, like all-time low. And the craziest thing is no one even really knows where it is.
I know I can't be the only one that TikTok got going from all the way up here to all the way down here.
TikTok released a statement shortly after saying that the glitch was caused by a power outage due to severe winter weather near one of its data centers. But even prior to this, many content creators were experiencing censorship around political content, including coverage of the war in Palestine, ICE raids, protests around the country, and commentary on other social issues.
Not only are we being lied to about what's happening in Minnesota right now, they are also censoring the hell out of the news. Like, if you watch any news outlet, they are not doing anything for us. They're not even reporting what's actually going on.
To make things worse, the new terms of service release was also a cause for concern. The data collected on the app would now include more personal details, including trans and non-binary status, as well as immigration and citizenship status of its users. While social media apps have always collected user data, this specific data in the hands of Trump's inner circle, especially those with ultra-far-right ideologies and some of the biggest donors to the IDF, were all very concerning.
This app is now actively spying on you. At this point, you've definitely seen this pop up. You probably already agreed to it.
So I went on TikTok and they got some new terms and conditions that we need to agree to, and there's no option to not agree to them.
But don't worry, remember, this whole thing was about making sure our data stays safe from a dangerous government.
The ability for users to be able to share themselves authentically is what made TikTok special. Creators didn't have to be perfect, anyone could go viral, and the algorithm was unmatched in connecting users with like-minded communities. For a lot of people, it was a way to receive news somewhere that wasn't overly saturated with AI slop and ads like Instagram or the powerhouse of the far right like X. While regulations for privacy and user safety are important, being able to exercise freedom of speech is America's First Amendment right, and we can't ignore that this current trajectory is opening the door for the government to have more control over the media that we produce and consume than we'd like to think. And that leads us to China. After the last imperial dynasty collapsed, the Chinese Communist Party became the primary political party under Mao Zedong. And while it was far from a smooth journey and millions of Chinese citizens paid the price during Mao's rise to power, China began a rapid period of growth, placing them at the table with the other world powers. We won't fully dive into America's relationship with communism, but I'd like to acknowledge that the war on communism, or the Red Scare, has long been a present force in the eyes of the American people.
If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist.
We're constantly reminded of the freedoms that the citizens of the People's Republic of China lack access to in comparison to the citizens of America. However, when it comes to regulating freedom in the media, the American and Chinese governments are beginning to resemble one another. Under Mao's leadership, especially after the 10-year Cultural Revolution, China maintained a strict regime where the media was used solely to further the party's ideologies. Anything or anyone who contradicted the reform was removed from public eye, and to this day, most public media remains under tight restriction in mainland China. Events like the Tiananmen Square massacre, where an indeterminate amount of students and civilians were killed protesting for democracy, freedom of speech, and political reform, have no place in Chinese history books. And the primary target, or should I say targets, for pushing Mao's and future ideologies were the youth. They were more impressionable, and being able to instill a curated view of the party meant that they'd be able to continue the agenda forward. Young people have always been the target demographic when it comes to changing political narratives and indoctrination. I mean, look at the Hitler Youth of Nazi Germany, for example, or Stalin's Komsomol. No wonder TikTok was a major commodity for the US government. Roughly half of its users are under the age of 30 and spend approximately an hour and a half on the app every single day. Malcolm X once said, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses." And this desire for control is a pattern that we see over and over again. Those with control over the media have control over the narrative, and those with control over the narrative have control over the people. And once you have control over the people, you've taken all the necessary steps in the battle for power. China would eventually adopt the Great Firewall of China. And this firewall allows the Chinese government to censor any content it deems harmful or dangerous away from its citizens. While TikTok is currently unavailable in China due to the firewall, its Chinese predecessor, Douyin, is alive and thriving, albeit abiding by the government's strict surveillance. Speaking of surveillance, China owns over half of the world's surveillance equipment and maintains the most complex surveillance system in the world. Not to mention, the country has been working towards more efficient methods of monitoring and perfecting its extensive database on its citizens. From general information such as registered vehicles and addresses to facial and voice recognition and phone data monitoring. The Chinese government is even working on new developments in iris and DNA databases. They're setting the stage for the best ways to keep tabs on a nation's people, and the United States is taking notes.
So I like TikTok. I like it.
Palantir, a tech company named after the all-seeing orbs in the Lord of the Rings series, holds a significant amount of contracts with the US government, analyzing civilian data and patterns, and acts as one of America's top surveillance systems. Rising to success during America's war on terror after 9/11,
we must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
the company began using data provided by the US government to locate terrorists and predict terrorist attacks. But their services didn't stop at national security. These days, they're monitoring public health data, immigration data, and providing AI targeting tools for America and other countries. Their products are being used globally by the likes of the UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and several other countries in the EU, just to name a few. And as of 2024, Palantir has struck a partnership with Israel to provide AI battle tech in the ongoing war against the Palestinians. Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir, was quoted as saying, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. We've entered into an age where a select few billionaires, in collaboration with our government, are in control of our social media and data. We're more vulnerable now than ever under the guise of being brought into a safer America. These individuals and companies have the power to analyze and regulate everything that we consume and redistribute it through lies, misinformed nationalism, and propaganda hidden in hyperconsumerism, fear-mongering, and political distraction. We've been shown throughout history the power of the media and how governments around the world have used it to control nations. It's not a question of if this is where the US is heading. The question of the hour is what this means for our future." Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.